Regina King for Cadillac Escalade.
When people ask, Regina, do you like to compete? I say, bring it on. Those are the moments that drive you to achieve more. And when you win, you keep reaching higher. To me, that's what the Cadillac Escalade represents. It's always evolving in technology, in design, everything. Because success isn't the end, it's just the first step to what comes next.
The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
Hi everybody, this is the Cricket Badger podcast.
Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. The name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
Hello everybody, welcome along. It's another edition of the Cricket Badger podcast. Got a very special guest in just a second for you, but before that, thank you very much to our sponsors Bodyline, T-shirts.com and moonrisecricket.co.uk. I've just had a little bit of trouble setting up this interview. I invited Stephen Croft by Zoom and it blocked him. It must be because he's a Lancastrian and I'm a Yorkshire fan, but we'll get past that and we'll invite him onto the Cricket Badger podcast. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. I spoke to you a couple of times before, but I think we'd set up this chat about a year ago and it never happened for some reason, but we'll get to it now. First off, before we get to the 20 questions, because you're going to be taking on those today, how have you found this COVID summer? It's been different, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite sort of bizarre, really, and a bit surreal at times. And yeah, sort of going back to February, really, we were probably just about to we've just been to India, Mumbai with Lancashire, and just about to go to South Africa. And then, yeah, when it all sort of came about, we all, I think, like most people, didn't think it was going to be that serious, really. And then the tour got cancelled, and then I think we soon found out it was probably more serious than we first imagined. And then, yeah, at one point we didn't think we were going to actually get out and play cricket at one point. So when we eventually did for those 2 months that were quite crammed in, really, but it was needed. It was great to get eventually back out there.
And how did you find playing in front of no crowds? Was that a strange atmosphere for you?
It was really, yeah. Even missing the Headingley crowd was a bit of a shame, really. But yeah, that's what you want. You want to be in those situations where you play in front of as many people as you can, and yeah, just a shame for the fans, really. Obviously, when we're out there doing our work, sometimes you can forget about it, really. But speaking to people around, I think they've really missed watching live cricket, and it's so sort of well followed, and especially the T20 games, you do notice it a little bit. But yeah, still felt really, really sorry for the fans, really, and they missed out on some good live cricket with some great local talent that was not just around Lancashire but around the country, really.
I've just checked your age on Crick Info, and happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Stephen Parry thought it was today. I got a message through today saying happy birthday, but he's a day late, but we'll let him off. And
only 36 now. I saw your LinkedIn post the other day where you were looking at kind of options outside of cricket, I guess, really thinking ahead. Having a season interrupted by COVID and everything that's gone on, it kind of, I don't know, I've spoken to a couple of people this year. I spoke to Darren Stevens, who's obviously evergreen and carries on, and he was saying, well, if it affects me at this time of life, then I've already had a decent career. It's the youngsters that we should be thinking about, but you want to cram in as much cricket as you can before you finish, I guess.
Yeah, I've got a desire to play as long as possible, really, as long as I'm still putting in performances. But yeah, it was a little bit of a wake-up call, really, although I have been planning sort of even the last 10 years, really, some outside stuff. It almost put it into perspective that what happens if the game wasn't here? We can't really just say you're a cricketer and not work. So it was a bit of an eye-opener, and I hope it was for some people in a sense of a bit of a planning sort of year, really. The PCA really help you out and push you to get into other avenues or just start that ball rolling, really, because you never really know when that last season or game's going to be, really. So I think it's always great to have a plan, and I think this year might have just pushed and nudged a few people along with it.
There's a tendency for people like us that work in cricket and love the game that we think it's the be-all and end-all. And one of the things of this summer, I think, is that we've been reminded really that there's more to life, really. You know, life's important, and friends and family, etc., are important, and cricket is not the be-all and end-all, really.
Yeah, and I think in that middle bit of the lockdown where we were all at home, it might have sounded sort of quite grim, really, if you sort of said to that situation you should be out on the field in April, May, but I actually really enjoyed it, spending summer months with the family that I haven't done before. So in that sense, it was nice to spend time with your family and do things that you don't usually do in the summer and maybe take for granted. So it was, that sense was really nice, really. And like you said, there is more to life than cricket, really. And it would be a sad life without it, obviously. But yeah, it was great to sort of catch up. And the world seemed a really nice place, really. Everyone was kind to each other and watch each other's back for a bit. And long it may continue, and hopefully, like I said, it just gets people thinking about other stuff as well.
Well, that takes us into the 20 questions, because the first question that I tend to ask the guests is, what would Stephen Croft have done if cricket hadn't existed? Where would life have taken you?
It would probably something sport-based, being really competitive of anything I do, really. So, yeah, if it wasn't cricket, hopefully another sport. Yeah, like I said, I love any sort of competition, and suppose, yeah, if it wasn't sport related, it might have been something sort of military based or sort of special forces. I've always been into that. Obviously, a bit too late now for that, and I don't think the family would appreciate it. But yeah, I think sort of you read about all the stories about the camaraderie they've had, and it's probably similar to cricket, really, working in a team and to try and achieve goals, really.
That'd be quite a hard thing to get past your missus, I guess, wouldn't it? To say, I'm retiring from cricket. She's thinking you're going to spend more time with the family, and you could say, well, I'm going to go on a mission for 12 months. I'm now in the Special Forces. It would be a different conversation. Yeah,
I don't think, get away with that. I usually get maybe a morning of golf somewhere. But yeah, I think that would have been the bridge too far, I think.
Who has been the biggest influence on your cricket career?
Well, probably going back sort of to non-cricketers, really. It's probably my dad who probably he didn't really play cricket, but I got into it when we moved over to Sri Lanka when I was 7 years old. We lived there for 3 years, and bless him, he can't really play, but he tried and put in hours with me and let me bowl at him. He bowled at me and put in sort of years and years of work, really. And then it came to playing. He ferried me around and had that support from him, both parents, really, to just gave me the opportunity, really. And I think once I was sort of growing up, and then obviously Fred, who was a Lancastrian as well, just down the road, was a sort of cricketing idol, really. So I was trying to sort of mimic his path, really, from being in the Northern League and then Lancashire in England. So he was a sort of hero growing up, really. That it was quite local and seemed sort of quite achievable at the time.
That's quite an interesting childhood. I didn't realise you'd been in Sri Lanka for 3 years when you were a kid. That must have been quite strange for a 7-year-old to suddenly find yourself in a completely different country, in a different sort of culture. Yeah,
massively. I was sort of footy mad before that, really, and not really picked up a cricket bat, really. So it was a great time, to be fair. We went to an international school, and there was sport on show, and then because of the heat, really, you finish school at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Obviously started early, but yeah, you had all the afternoon to go swimming, play cricket, and just run around, really. So it was great in that sort of sense. It was almost fitting my lifestyle, really, of staying active and just running around and being a nuisance, really.
So you're an incredible player of spin then, from an early age.
Yeah, try. Well, yeah, if I don't read it, it's just trying to swipe at it. But yeah, it was great to start there. They're obviously cricket mad and there for the World Cup, and it was a brilliant place. I suppose it's the same when you're over here and you see kids playing football everywhere. It was literally everywhere over there. A spare bit of grass or a bit in a field, and there'd be kids just playing cricket everywhere.
What's been your best moment in cricket? If I could take you back to 24 hours in your career that you could relive again and experience the highs of that day, where would you take me?
Probably can't look too past the 2011 championship win, really. The T20 was up there as well, sort of our first trophy in that, and to captain that was a great honour. But the 2011 championship win was right up there. I think for many reasons, really. We had a 77-year wait, and how that season panned out, really. We were massive underdogs to thought we were going to go down, and it was a great team effort. Yeah, there was every one of us had won a game here or there in that season, and even the last game, how that panned out, we weren't behind in the game, but it looked like Warwickshire were going to beat Hampshire down to Rose Bowl where it was then, and yeah, I think it was Carbs and Neil McKenzie just batted that whole day out, and then sort of gave us more belief that on that last day, and then yeah, he just like the stars aligned, and they grounded out a draw. We got a great win, and yeah, the rest is history. And the great thing about that year was how much it meant to the fans and the Lancashire supporters. Really, we'd obviously felt like we'd achieved something great with the squad we had. It had been 77 years as well. We've had some great sides in between, but taking the trophy around to even local cricket clubs, you really felt that supporters were really sort of moved, and it was a great achievement really when we went around to sort of Man United, Man City, a few rugby grounds and football, which was great, but taking it to the local clubs, you really saw how much it meant to all supporters.
And there wouldn't have been many people still alive, would there, that had seen Lancashire win it 77 years before then? So a whole generation of cricket fans there in Lancashire that experienced that for the first time. Yeah,
and like I said, there've been so many good sides we've had throughout the sort of generations, really. See that great 90s side, and for our side to win it, which was, I wouldn't say we were star-studded up whatsoever. We had some great players, some great lads that have played together, and I think that was one of the main reasons we had that sort of squad togetherness, cohesion. We really sort of dug in together. But yeah, looking back over the years at some of the names and sides they had, it was unbelievable how they hadn't won it, but that's what made it even more special, I suppose. I remember covering the game at Aigburth, Yorkshire, in that season, and that was a terrific finish there. And you had a few of those, didn't you, where you got across the line and you won matches that were quite tight and everything. And sometimes when your name's on the trophy, that old adage, you carry on and win it, don't you? Yeah, and there's so many games like that just sort of swung our way, really. And I think it did help, obviously, playing at Aigburth a lot of the season. Old Trafford has in the past had a tendency to go a bit flat, and especially if you lose a day or two to sort of bad weather, it's hard to get a result really at Old Trafford. There's been some great cricket wickets there, but yeah, I think if you turn them into 2.5 or 3 day games, it's you're struggling to get a result with two good sides going at each other. But sort of excuses aside, and we played some great cricket at the end. Like you said, there were some really tight games. Kegg's got a 9 for against Hampshire. It went down to sort of the last 2 minutes, and it sort of it seemed just to fall in place really.
BodylineT-shirts.com. Browse the finest collection of cricketing t-shirts on the web. Hundreds of original cricket designs for cricket players and fans alike, featuring everyone and everything from Larwood to Leach and Cow Corner to chin music at BodylineT-shirts.com. And you can get 10% off your first order using the code BADGER at checkout. BodylineT-shirts.com. T-shirts for the discerning cricket fan.
That's the good day. I'm going to try and take you back now to a day that you don't want to relive again. What would be your worst moment in cricket?
Probably haven't got a real one that I thought I wish had never happened, or you obviously have a few. You have a bad game here and there, but yeah, I suppose any time you've got relegated out of Division 1, happened a few times, and sort of the finals day losses, even at last weekend was a tough one to take, but yeah, no sort of real pinpoint ones really. Got a few times on 99, which is never nice, but yeah, sort of any time you sort of lose really, it does sort of hurt and take a piece of you really that you want to then sort of hopefully learn from. So it doesn't happen again. But I think after playing sort of 16, 17 years, there is going to be days you want to forget, but none really I can pinpoint until that was a terrible day really. But yeah, there's plenty of moments where you're very disappointed and try to sort of learn from each one of those to make sure it doesn't happen again, or minimal times really.
I'm talking to you on WhatsApp, and there's 2 very cute kids staring at me at the moment who are obviously yours. And are you the sort of cricketer that takes things home with you and you sit in the corner and sulk and if things go wrong, or do you kind of brush it off as soon as you drive out the gates?
A little bit of both, really. Obviously, before children, yeah, you take it home and you mull over it, and especially when you captain the side as well. There's so many things you maybe could have done differently. But yeah, I think these last few years, it's you sort of brush yourself down after a loss, and then to be fair, you've got some pretty important things going on at home, really, with homework or bowling at your daughter in the backyard. So yeah, it tends to sort of, like I said earlier, there's other things, and I think that's helped my cricket the last few years, to have obviously a family and other interests that you can just get stuck into, really, and when you're at home you tend not to think about it. And yeah, there's always the odd time you think, obviously you can dwell a bit or overthink things, but yeah, you soon get sort of beaten out of your literally by one of your little ones.
When you were a youngster, I just learnt that 3 of those years were spent in Sri Lanka, but was there a poster boy for you when you were looking at cricket? Was there somebody that you looked at and thought, I want to be him? Yeah,
it had probably been Fred, really. A Lancastrian, and I played at Blackpool. He played at St Anne's, which was a sort of rival club. And just his journey, really, from being, I think at the time he was the youngest Northern Premier League player at 14. I think I just picked him at that, and then he broke into the Lanc side early, and then I think he played for England when he was around 20. So yeah, that all almost seemed like, because someone local's done it, I could maybe give it a go, and if someone from around sort of where I was from has done it, she always got that sense growing up that it was always the sort of public school boys. But I think sort of around Lancashire, it's not really like that, really. But yes, someone being so local and made his way in the game sort of really pushed me on and thought I can have a go at it as well.
And then obviously a few years later, you were sharing a dressing room with him, so that would have been quite special, I guess. Yeah,
it was quite surreal, really, and he sort of really looked after me. I didn't really know him. I'd met him on a few occasions, but I remember being in the changing room, and he sort of got me at ease, sort of introduced me to everyone, and I think he almost kept an eye on me, really, which I almost appreciated and really respected and not forgot since this day, really. He's sort of most people know he's an outgoing character, and that really sort of puts you at ease, sort of going into a changing room with Stewie Lord, Dominic Cork and Warren Hegg, and the great sort of names in there, to almost someone who knows your name and knows what you do and where you're from was a nice touch, really, and tried to almost do the same when anyone new walks through the door and any youngsters come in. It can be a daunting place, the changing room, and trying to make them feel at ease and try and get a bit of info on them to let them know that you know what they're about, really.
With Fred, he looks fitter now than he did when he played. You see him on TV these days, and he's tanned and slim and everything. He looks like he could carry on.
Yeah, he looks in great shape, doesn't he? And I think he's kicked a few old habits, and well, he's massively into his gym now, and he's done tremendously well. Top Gear and all the other shows. Just love watching him, and he's got that almost that northernness about him you can't dislike, really. He's a genuine guy, and I think everyone sees him or comes across him will say what a guy he is. And yeah, he still flies the Lancashire flag and the cricket flag for everyone. He's sort of been a great ambassador to the game. I think that 05 Ashes is just, I don't think you'll get a better sort of man of the series performance, really. And I think he's touched everyone, really, who's come across him or even watched him, really. He's a great showman, and I think that's why so many people love him.
If you could trade lives, Stephen Croft, with any current player, you can live in their skin for a day, you feel what it's like to have their talent and to have their life for 24 hours, who would you pick?
There's a few sort of, obviously, cricketers. You look at sort of Kohli and A.B. de Villiers is one, like, thinking, I'm just going to hit it there, he does, and that must be a nice feeling, really, just to not just have a slog, but just pick your place and hit it there. So I think on the field, yeah, A.B. de Villiers must be, he's right up there as in sort of a talent. And similar with Joss, really, he just makes it look pretty easy, never seems to swing the bat too hard, and he's just brilliant to watch and obviously play with as well. So I think either on the field, it'd have to be Butler or de Villiers for me, really.
Yeah, de Villiers, I think he was my answer when I turned these questions on myself a while ago. A.B. de Villiers for me is just something special. You watch him when he's in full flight, and every single shot. And he seems to invent shots whilst he's playing, doesn't he? You know, he can hit it anywhere, and he's evergreen as well. I mean, we talk about kind of getting towards the end of careers and stuff. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how old AB is at the moment, but he just always seems to be in form and always seems to be fighting fit.
Yeah, I think everything he does really. He's got wickets. He can keep. He's good in the field. So everything he does. Apparently, he was good at everything growing up, sort of sport wise. So I think he's obviously still got a passion and desire, and like I say, he looks fit, and it just never seems to mistime the ball. Probably a lot of cricketers envy that, really. But I think that's what makes him so special and great to watch.
Same age as you. He's 36. So you're in good company in that age.
Moonrise is a sports engagement website to allow sports fans to learn from the very best. Get a personal video message recorded for a fan's special occasion. Have a professional cricketer as your next coach by getting video feedback or having a 30-minute conversation with some of the world's best players. Players such as Jimmy Neesham, Colin Munro, Tammy Beaumont, Danny Wyatt, Monty Panesar. Visit moonrisesports.com or go to Moonrise Sports on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Moonrise Cricket, let's play.
I'm going to put you in charge of world cricket for a day. It can be English cricket. You can take this however you want to, but I'm going to put you behind the big desk. Mr. S. Croft is on the door. What would you do to change the game to make it better?
Well, I think first, sort of, I wouldn't say away from cricket, but like the World Cup and that 05 Ashes is just trying to get it out there to more people. So sort of free-to-air television is something, even what the players think about. You always think about that next generation, what I remember watching sort of those Ashes and young stuff on terrestrial television. And I think that's quite important really to get the game out there, really. I think we'll have decent numbers playing cricket in this country, but if you really want to compete and keep those numbers up, I think getting it on terrestrial is quite an important thing, really. And that goes back to the World Cup last year and those 05 Ashes, sort of real iconic moments that you'd like everyone to see, really, and try and emulate. And doing a bit of sort of coaching myself last few years, you usually see a great number of youngsters actually playing the game and coming up to nets, and then you tend to get a bit of a drop off around teenage years. But if you can sort of keep them sort of involved in the game, whether they be watching it or playing somehow. And yeah, I think obviously it'd be nice for the game to have a bit more money. That's what usually comes down to the television rights, I suppose. But I think getting it out there in that sense of making people, if more people can watch it, I think it'll be better received and numbers. But I think obviously before this year, cricket was in a good place, sort of on the field, really. I think England, the Test team have done tremendously well over the last decade, and obviously the one-day stuff, world champions, and the T20 stuff were a great side in that as well, led by Morgan. And I think that the county cricket is in a good place as well, really. The 4-day stuff continues to provide England players, although it's not exact same conditions, really. I think that we've seen over the last few years, sort of the Burns and Sibleys and Zach Crawley, it must be working. Yeah, and the Blast's been brilliant to play in as well the last few years. The numbers have been really great. It's been really great competitive cricket, and yeah, another 100 was supposed to happen this year. Obviously no one knows how that's going to go, but I'm pretty sure if it was received like the T20 when it first started, I think it'll be good. And I suppose it's more cricket, and hopefully more people will watch, and it'll get out there to maybe a new audience out there.
I had George DeBell on recently, and he there was a nice phrase that he said about free-to-air TV. Basically, for a lot of the country, it's invisible, isn't it, cricket? Because it's behind that paywall, and not everybody has Sky Sports. Those that have it just take it for granted. Those that don't have it never see cricket, and that's something that cricket has got to try and remedy, hasn't it? Because, I mean, going back to when I was a kid, I turned on the TV, surfed around, found cricket, realised 3 hours later I was still watching it, and that's how you get into it, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And like I say, if you'd not heard of the game, you wouldn't really see it. You might get the odd little appearance on the news, but it's just one of those sports that unfortunately it is sort of only on Sky, or I don't know if anything's on BT at the minute. But yeah, it's there for subscription holders, and yeah, I've been paying the bills. It's not cheap to get a sort of Sky package, and but yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to get it on terrestrial television, and yeah, I'm going back to the sort of Channel 4 to still remember the music and what was going on, and that was sort of my early memories, and maybe that's why I think a sort of good sort of batch of players around that area. You never know, but he's definitely seen by more people then.
How have you found the Bob Willis Trophy? I think the ECB had done a fantastic job this summer to get county cricket, well, as much county cricket and international cricket played in England. But Bob Willis Trophy, obviously a different structure. They're talking about doing something similar next year. How have you found that? Do you like that conference premise, or would you prefer two divisions?
You said it there. I think they did the very best that they could do, really. The cricket was really competitive. I think, yeah, there wasn't enough games for a group, really. But yeah, I think if it was a full season, I'd like to see first and second division. I think over the time, or 1 or 2, 3 seasons, the best team will generally be up there really consistently. But yeah, I think this year it was great the way they did it, really. I think it's the best way they could have done it, and like I said, the cricket was excellent, and there was plenty of young lads on the show as well, which was good for the game. They might not have had that exposure, obviously, with the England bubbles and selections. We fielded, I think, sort of 6 or 7 debutants in that format. So yeah, it was great for those lads, and they got to do it around experienced players as well, and play against some really good players. So yeah, I think, like you said, it was the best way they could have done it, really, and it was great to be involved with it, really. And same again, if that final at Lords was sort of on terrestrial television, it would probably made it a bit more special as well.
What I like about the conference idea is that every county in the country at the start of the season can win it. And you've talked about the disappointment of relegation to Division 2, and you obviously start the next season knowing that you're not going to get your hands on that trophy because you're a division away from it. Whereas the Leicesters, the Derbys of this world, they had some great results in the Bob Willis Trophy, and even if it was just for a week or two, they were in contention. And that I quite like that premise, that everybody starts the same. Yeah,
and you suppose you've got to be on the ball, really. And I suppose at the time the only bad thing with the 2 divisions was so many went down. Not so many really, but it was 25% of your division could possibly go down, could play some decent cricket and get a bit unlucky with the weather and be relegated in the past. Where, yeah, I suppose, like you said, anyone can win it, and it's almost a bit like a cup competition that you've got to be on the ball, really. You can't sort of gradually get into the season because you're probably not going to be anywhere. So it probably got the competitive juices flowing for, like you said, more teams, really, which was good to see.
The other thing I quite like about it, the way it's set up, you are encouraged to play attacking cricket, aren't you? From my standpoint, there's no penalty for finishing at the bottom because you're not going to get relegated. So it's all out attack because you need to finish in the top bit to qualify for the next round.
Yeah, so I think, in that sense as well, there won't be that sort of protecting your status or anything like that. And I think they got the rules right with the season, and suppose they took into consideration the fast bowlers and stuff, and had a maximum of 120 overs, which sort of took out that real monster big score that you could possibly get, and then have 2 goes at a side. But I think it fitted with this year and what it was all about, and like I say, the players had to get protected first, which was first and foremost. And obviously there was quite a few injuries this year anyway, but I think that was due to that sort of, I wouldn't say inactivity, probably just cricket-specific fitness, being on a field. Lots of lads are doing lots of stuff at home and getting fit. But yeah, I suppose there's nothing like being out there and being on the field. But yeah, I think it was all ran very well in the end.
Everybody that has ever played club cricket knows that first match of the season, you wake up the next morning feeling stiff. Was that the same this county season? Because, as you say, everybody kept fit and everybody did their training schedules, but it's not match fitness, is it?
No, yeah, it is sort of very different. And we were fortunate enough to, I think we had sort of 3 practice games, really, which were great, really. Unfortunately, we weren't at Old Trafford for the sort of 90% of the summer because of the England stuff, but we sort of went to an outground, Chester Broughton Hall, which looked after us really well. Had a couple of friendlies there, one sort of inter-squad game. We played Derbyshire, and then we played Yorkshire over at Headingley. So it was great preparation, really. But yeah, it almost speaking to the lads, they're probably a little bit stiffer than they probably were on previous seasons. But yeah, luckily we had those 3 games to sort of get ourselves into it, really.
Get a credit card that gives you what you need now. A low interest rate on everyday purchases and a place to transfer high interest rate balances. The PenFed Gold contactless card is our lowest rate credit card. You can even earn a $100 statement credit when you spend $1,500 in the first 90 days. Join PenFed, and together we can help you keep more of what's yours. Visit PenFed.org/goldcard. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
We're going to move on to some other questions now. And so your answers to these can be cricket related, or you can go down any route that you want to. They say rock stars want to be sportsmen and vice versa. If you could have been famous in any other field, doing anything you wanted to do, obviously you grew up in Blackpool, you could have been an entertainer by the sea. What would you have chosen to do?
Probably in a band. Yeah, love music and can't play any. So yeah, I'd love to be able to play guitar and have a good voice, really, because as my wife told me, it's very woeful. So yeah, I think being in a band would be right up there.
What sort of music? What's your favourite stuff?
Stuff like Stereophonics, Kings of Leon, Foo Fighters, yeah, something with a bit of a beat. Don't get big raps anymore. My music in the changing room, sounding quite old when you go in there and say what's this every day. So you tend just to put up with it now and just leave them to it and stick your headphones in and stick your own music on.
If you could meet anybody, living or dead, it's that dinner party question. Who would you have around? If you could, maybe 3 guests I'm going to give you, living or dead, who would you like around the table to have a bit of a chinwag with?
Probably Denzel Washington first. Love films, love all his films, and just seems like a solid all-round bloke and something you'd probably get some very wise words from. Yeah, Denzel Washington would be up there. Muhammad Ali, I think from a sporting side, yeah, similar. You'd probably come away with your mind blown, really. And yeah, Will Ferrell as well for a bit of a comedy side. Again, love all his films and makes you feel young again watching them. So yeah, probably them, and maybe Angelina as well. Something so it's evens it out a bit. If
you had the Muhammad Ali, the young Muhammad Ali, nobody else would get a word in edgeways, would they? He'd be telling everybody how beautiful he was and how fantastic he was all night.
Yeah, we'd have to maybe get him out of the house and then have an after party with the rest.
They're going to make Crofty the movie. They are starting to think about casting. Steven Spielberg's on the phone. They say, Steven, who's going to play you in the film about your life? Any recommendations?
I'd like to say someone like Tom Hardy. He's quite short, like myself, and a bit beardy. So yeah, I've been obviously wouldn't mind looking like him, but yeah, it would probably be him, but it would probably end up being a budget movie made with no one in it, to be fair.
If you're going to pick somebody, you might as well pick somebody good looking, isn't you?
Yeah, probably him, probably Tom Hardy.
What's the last time you can remember feeling really nervous? I mean, this can be anything, but as a player, do you get nervous before going out to bat? Are you somebody that sits there and gets all tense, or do you just take things in your stride?
No, never really, apart from really younger days, sort of anxious to get out there and you want to just sort of start batting, really. You don't want wickets to fall, but you want to be out there doing what you want to do, really. But yeah, sort of cricket sense, not really get that nervous really anymore. And probably the last time I was really nervous was my second daughter. It was 11 months now. So it was probably all around the birth of her, really. And you hope everything goes well. And there's nothing you can do as a father at times in the hospital. You just feel a bit helpless, really. And obviously the women have to go through the brave stuff, really. And you just have to be there to support, and you just feel a bit helpless. So that was probably last time I was really nervous, yeah.
As I say, looking at that picture on your WhatsApp thing, things look as if they've turned out okay.
Yeah, great, thanks. And outnumbered in the house, 3-1 now, with women to boys. So yeah, it's all good. You can scoot off, and I need a long time now at times. But yeah, all good.
That's why you need cricket, isn't it? You can escape the house for a bit.
yeah, go to work for an escape.
What's the top item on your bucket list? Things to do before you die. What will be number 1 on that list?
Probably see more of the world, really. Done a little bit of travelling, obviously through cricket, but yeah, not seeing the places you'd want to see before you go. So yes, places like the Maldives would be nice, and done a bit of America, but yeah, wouldn't mind going around America and obviously when everything clears up, mine. But yeah, I think just to travel a bit more. Obviously, been to some great places through cricket in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, and the Caribbean. But you tend not to have too much time off there. So yeah, it'd be nice just to get on some proper holidays, really.
I'm going to let you write to yourself when you were, say, I don't know, 12, 13, and you can advise the young Stephen Croft about things to do to get the most out of his cricket. What would you tell yourself? What would you maybe do differently if you had your time again?
I think probably always listening to my coach and obviously respected them and had some brilliant ones over the years, especially Morsey and people like Ashley Giles. And so, yeah, I think, but not relying too much on coaches, really, that to work everything out for you. So almost find your own method of working things out, and obviously they're there to help and facilitate things for you. But yeah, I think the last few years, really, you sort of get your own way and your method and what's good and unique for yourself, really. So I think going back, if you could found that a bit sooner, or explore stuff myself rather than always sort of. I wanted to learn stuff and look at new avenues, which is I don't think there's anything wrong with, but I think look for that method sort of internally. If I got that a bit sooner, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, probably around that, really. Just it's your career out there, so you look after it and make sure you've got everything you can do, really.
Have you found yourself at all saying to a coach? I mean, as you say, you've got a terrific list of coaches that you've had down through your career, but have you had that chat where you said, actually, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way, and I trust my instinct on this, and this is how I feel most comfortable.
Yeah, in some sort of slight way. When Morsey was around, I was sort of quite relatively young in my career, and Morsey was one for trying. If what wasn't sort of getting somewhere, we'd go down lots of different avenues and just experiment, really. So I think at the time, you need that chat saying that doesn't work and this works, and maybe we can do this. And I suppose it goes down to how you are as a person and how you learn. I prefer just going out there and actually hitting balls rather than just talking too much, rather experiment by doing, really. So I think as long as your coach understands that and knows that, and some people do need or want the sort of 100% from the coaches and to be told what to do. I think I'm probably work better just getting a bit of information and then trying to figure it out myself and be challenged on stuff. And going back to I say I'm really competitive. If I get challenged or doubted at anything, I feel like that gets the best out of me. And some coaches have known that, really. At times you think, are they going for me here, or are they picking on me? But I presume where they knew I like to get challenged, and I feel like that got the best the best cricket out of me, really.
You're going into coaching yourself now. I mean, all of those things that you've just mentioned there are things to bear in mind, I guess, when you're coaching yourself, not to overcoach, maybe know when to stand back a bit, know how to push people's buttons, and trying to figure that out from inside a tracksuit rather than inside a playing shirt. Yeah,
and that's what really sort of drew me to it, really, sort of seeing the coaches we've had work, and then sort of through the captaincy stuff, it was then that period where I thought I really enjoyed this, and almost like the man management side of it, and working things out that way, really. I think the technical side of coaching is something I've always liked doing anyway, and picked up more skills throughout the years, but really sort of getting to know how people work and sort of almost managing people was something I really enjoyed and look forward to, hopefully, to help people figure things out and hopefully help them on their path to hopefully one day play for England.
I suppose as well, when you were captain at Lancs, you have that element to that job as well, don't you? Where you've got your team and you need to know how your players tick and know when a harsh words may be needed and when an arm around the shoulders needed too. Yeah,
that was sort of a bit of a grounding for it, really, and sort of some open my eyes, really, that it's not about yourself anymore. You've got to look after the team and the squad, and obviously the coach is there to do that as well. But that first time where you think, well, it's not about just what you do as a player, really. You've got all these other personalities, players that you sometimes have to juggle a bit, and like I said, some of them you have to try and sort of turn on, some you have to tone down, and it can be a juggling act at times, but it's something I really enjoyed, really. Like I said, that's what really sort of got my appetite going for it, really.
The in-dash OLED display in the Cadillac Escalade has 38 total diagonal inches of color display. So why do we give it a curve too? I guess you could say we like to bend the rules. The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and I realised just recently that I've dated myself completely with this question because I refer to the Fonz here, but on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the Fonz, the coolest man in the world, how cool would you say you are?
I'll go just over halfway. I'm sort of quite a laid back. Although some people might think I'm on the field quite aggressive, but yeah, sort of quite laid back, and I'd give myself a 6, 7.
I'm not. I mean, I always think back to Mark Hughes when he was playing football, and when you saw him interviewed, he was always really quite quiet and softly spoken. But you saw him out on the pitch, and he was, his heart was pounding out of his chest, and you felt he was about an inch away from punching people at times. But how different is your personality to the one that we see out there on the cricket pitch?
Yeah, it can be very different, really. It sort of depends what. I suppose what day it is, what mood, if I've had a coffee or not. But yeah, I'd like to say I'm sort of a laid back character, but I still need sort of that competition. So sometimes I wouldn't say pick a fight with a teammate, or you just try and, if I try and help people around me, I thought that sort of determines what I do, really. If the team need a lift, can run around, be a bit more energetic. If they're in a good place, you can almost just calm down and look at your own job and see what you can do to keep helping or keep going if you're getting the results you want, really. So yeah, it's sort of quite versatile in a way. But yeah, I feel it can change a little bit and sort of adapt to what the team needs, really. And having played in plenty of different ones over the years, there's plenty of different characters, and sort of each team has its own strengths, really. So yeah, like I say, quite versatile on that sense, really. But yeah, I think off the field, probably a bit more reserved. Off the field, yeah, probably a bit more relaxed, really.
If you had access to a time machine, I'm going to put a time machine in your garage. You can drive it forwards in time, you can drive it backwards in time. Where would you take it?
I wouldn't mind, going back, sort of 70s, 80s era, and look at what the standard was like. Obviously, you get good players, and you hear sort of the back in my day lines. So it'd just be nice to play cricket back then and see what it was like. Obviously, it's been a scary element playing on uncovered pitches and no helmets, and see how fast the bowlers really were. So yeah, from a cricket sense, I thought, yeah, it'll be sort of quite cool to maybe all sort of 70s era and see what it's like, really. And I'm pretty presuming it'll be quite relaxed off the field, no skin fold tests and sort of getting pinched. So I thought that element would be quite cool as well, to be a bit more relaxed.
All sportsmen seem to think that their eras are the best. Is that the case? Would you think that your time is the best, or would you actually quite like to have gone back and played in the 2005 kind of version, or the 90s or the 80s, etc.? Yeah,
I think with sport in general, I think that people's skills are probably going to get, like, I think people more skilled these days, and as technology goes, I think that can help and still bring things forward. I think obviously in the past you still get skillful players. The Bradmans are obviously the best in that era, really. So it's actually, I think it's too hard to judge, really. Yes, the bowlers might have been quicker or slower, but they were probably the best at the time, really. And there's probably you get the old Messi and Ronaldo debate, and it's just hard to make a judgment, really. But I think with technology, how things go it obviously things seem a bit faster these days, whether it be football or cricket, really. The pace in which it's played at just seems like it's gone up a notch. But no doubt there was, in any sport, no doubt going back, that the people were still super talented and probably not too far off from where we're at now.
The Cricket Badger podcast, it's a very generous podcast. We offer you the chance to have a second home anywhere in the world, and the cheque may never turn up in the post, but where would you put it? Where would you have that house?
I'd go for Auckland, New Zealand. Good stint out there playing for Auckland. Travelled around the islands and had a full season with them, and just really loved the place. Weather was great most of the time, and the people were just really phenomenal. So sort of welcoming and really loved their own country and made you feel really welcome. And if they invited you around for dinner, they actually really meant it and wanted you to travel around and see the beautiful country. And yeah, shame it's the other side of the world, but yeah, it'd be Auckland, I reckon.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change?
I'm not sure, really.
That's not a bad starting point, Rogue. I mean, if your first instinct is that you're quite happy with how you are, that's not a bad answer to that question, is it?
Yeah, I think if you ask my wife, she'll have plenty of stuff.
She'll give me a list.
Of ammo. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's one of those things that you are who you are, and there's obviously little stuff and makes you sort of unique. Really, no one's going to be perfect, and yeah, so man being a couple of inches taller or a little bit leaner, but yeah, I suppose one of those things is in your control.
Most people that come on the Cricket Badger podcast to answer the 20 questions realise towards the end of it that it's more like 60 questions because I add in the supplementaries along the way. But we're down to the final two, Stephen Croft. And number 19, what will you be doing in 10 years' time?
I think it's safe to say I'll probably be retired from the playing side. Yeah, I don't think I can last as long as Steve-O, probably not. But yeah, I think how the last few years have gone, sort of doing coaching in the winter. Hopefully I've probably made that transition by then into coaching, really. So yeah, I'd like to say I'll be coaching hopefully Lancashire, but happy to go anywhere with it, really. I think if I travelled with it, it's one of those that you'd learn about other environments and maybe get there a bit quicker, sort of where you want to be as a coach, really. So, but yeah, hopefully coaching.
I'm going to test the Roses rivalry here. If Yorkshire offered you a job in 10 years' time, would you take it?
If there was nothing at Lancs. but yeah, I think, like I said, if there is sort of nothing there, and I suppose that's the thing with sport and coaching, there's only a limited amount of jobs, really. It's something you might have to travel with. And like I said, you learn about another team, another environment, and from a learning perspective, I think it's great to get out of that comfort zone. I don't think they're more uncomfortable than Yorkshire, really.
Question number 20, and this is one that some people struggle with, and it's effectively, tell me a secret, Stephen Croft. If you've been asking these questions to yourself and you wanted an exclusive answer, what would you have asked? Maybe
something around what's your little vice, which would probably be red wine.
And did the consumption of that go up during lockdown, or were you sensible?
Yeah, it didn't actually. Yeah, when sort of being around at the home, you knew you're going to get jumped on in the morning and stuff. So it's more sort of where when you're on away trips, have a glass or two, and but yeah, I enjoy it. There's a few of us that enjoy our wine, and we sort of trade a few bottles here and there between us and have a little club so you can get the tastiest one.
It would have to be red wine as well, wouldn't it? Bearing in mind our Roses conversations.
Yeah, it would.
Stephen Croft, it has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you today. Thank you very much indeed for being a guest on the Cricket Badger podcast.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
If you do have arthritis, are you doing what you can to reduce the morning stiffness? The Morning Stiffness is a podcast about the hard truths of arthritis. It's made specifically for you or anyone you know who has arthritis. The Morning Stiffness is a podcast designed to help people with arthritis get out of bed in the morning. Join us wherever you get your podcast. We'll help you make each day the best it can be. The Morning Stiffness Podcast.